All right. Great morning. Happy holidays. How's
Good
everyone?
morning. Happy holidays.
Yes. So, and happy Friday. All the good stuff. This is our last Utopia talk of 2022. Can y'all even believe it's the end of 2022? Because I can't. Right.
Time has flown.
It has flown. But guess what? We made it. We made it. I just want to say welcome to everyone. And this is our Utopia talk. The topic is create your utopia this holiday. So we want to say one, happy holidays. We want to say happy Hanukkah. We want to say Merry Christmas Eve, and all the things, right? Upcoming happy Kwanzaa, all the things, right? So I want to thank you. I am Naya Powell, founder and CEO and best-selling author of 30 Days to Utopia Living, and founder of Utopia Global Wellness. So we have some really cool, exciting things because we've just gone through a brand elevation, and more of that is going to roll out in the new year in 2022. And I am joined here by our resident mental health therapist, licensed therapist, Leslie Stevens Tavera.
Hello. Thank you so much, Naya, for having me on this final beautiful Utopia talk of 2022. It's so good to be here and hang out with you and hang out with everyone today.
It's always so fun to have you, Leslie. And you are bringing the sunshine. So thank you, love. You look gorgeous, by the way.
On purpose. We got to bring that yellow. That yellow just screams sun.
Yes, it does. And I'm trying to give us a little festive. I have bought these cute little holiday earrings. They are so, my hairdresser had them and she got them from Target. So it's Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. And so I was like, I got to go get those.
Yes.
I literally ran last night. So I love these. And you'll see probably me wear these more than once during this holiday. But
rock them. They're perfect.
Beautiful. So before we dive in, Leslie, what are maybe one or two words that you think of when you think of holiday season, this holiday season?
Two words. Joy
Mm-hmm.
and overwhelm.
Joy and overwhelm.
Joy and
that. And holiday seasons can be tough, right? And so we want to talk about that, right? Because it does bring about a myriad and complexity of feelings and emotions. Before we dive all the way in, I want to just quickly share what's new. You heard me mention that Utopia has just gone through a brand elevation, and we are so excited about that. So we used to be Utopia Spa and Global Wellness. We are now Utopia Global Wellness as we are leaning into really our B2B focus, our corporate wellness focus, and we're excited about that. And so the spa part is not as relevant because we used to be Utopia or Spa Utopia. We pivoted during COVID. So we just keep on elevating and iterating to get even better. So with that, in the new year, you all can expect to see a full launch of our new coaching practice around group coaching, individual coaching. We have amazing thought leaders, and we're adding even more global thought leaders to the team. We also will have our new workplace wellness workshops, our assessments, so we can do evaluations and then do coaching around those assessments for your leaders, stress levels, resilience, all of these things, right? And then we're going to be also offering our Utopia book club launch. And so that's going to be something that's great for our corporate community members and our individual community members around the world. So exciting stuff, y'all. Today I want you to know what you can expect from today's conversation. We're going to really be talking about, all those feelings that come along with the holidays. Leslie, you mentioned joy and overwhelm. I think that is the case. Gosh, the stats say it's the case for about 60 to 70% of people, right? And then workplace stress increases for many is closer to 80% of people, the increase of stress and deadlines and all the things. We're going to dive into that. We're also going to share some stats with you around global holidays and holiday wellness. We're going to have a few minutes for ask us anything, and then we're going to close out with a beautiful moment of centered breathing and a mindful moment. So I wanted to share a few fun facts in terms of global facts around Christmas and December holidays. So did you know? I'm going to ask you. I'm going to quiz you and in the audience, but you got to move fast. How many countries celebrate Christmas? How many do you think? You can just guess.
100.
You're in the ballpark. Trevor, our operations lead, will be managing the chat. So if you see anything, Trevor, let us know. We have an answer going once, going twice. So Leslie, you are the winner. Because you got the closest because I don't see any others. So okay, Clarence, yay! Clarence is in the house. So good to see you. So Clarence at 85. Leslie, you're the winner. 160. There are 160 countries that celebrate Christmas. Yes. There are 11 holidays around the world celebrated in December. And then I thought this was interesting. Rudolph's red nose, according to Norwegian experts, is the consequence of a parasite infection in his respiratory system. So that's deep, right? So we've always
no wonder he was a little sluggish. No wonder he was a little shy getting out there. He had a cold. He wanted to rest.
He needed to rest. That's why he was a little sluggish. So you know, we need Rudolph to be well. We don't have to make sure Rudolph some ginger in his system. So as we move into our topic today is how do we create utopia during our holidays? As we said, there are so many of us that are grappling with the challenging side. There's the joy, there's the Christmas carols, there's all the fa la 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 la. But I want to share some stats with you all. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 40% of people living with mental illness found that the holidays made their symptoms somewhat worse. 68% of people feel financially stressed during this time. 66% of people feel lonely. 63% of people feel that there's just too much pressure. So, you know what? I can relate to a few of these. The pressure, the stress, the deadlines, the travel, all the things.
Yeah.
So, Leslie, as a licensed therapist, and this is such a busy time for you, so thank you for being able to join us. Not only are you our resident therapist, but you are also the co-founder of Congruence Counseling. So you have a very full plate. So talk to us. Why is this time of year so difficult for so many?
Yeah. Holidays bring on a lot of pressure in so many different types of ways. So, a couple of the things that we think through would be the time of grief and loss, right? Someone may have lost a loved one this year, the last couple of years, the last 20 years. And holidays provide a secondary loss for people who are dealing with grief and loss. In addition, there's also the financial pressure, like you're mentioning, right? Social norms and expectations exacerbate that financial pressure. So if you have kids at home and you're wanting to provide a beautiful Christmas for them, which comes with the societal expectation of having gifts under the tree, there's financial pressure there. There's pressure to show up in a family. Maybe you're going back home for the holidays. Maybe familial relationships haven't been as great. Maybe there's some folks at home or back home in the family that you don't want to see. And you're thinking through, what is it going to be like for me to engage with this family member again, right? What are they going to ask me? What is the expectation when I go home or when I talk to so-and-so about what's happening in my life? So there's so many types of pressure. There's the financial pressure. There's the societal pressure. There's relational pressure, there's grief and loss. All of these things are culminated in a holiday season that's supposed to be festive and then holding up to the pressure of we're supposed to have fun and be joyful. Yeah. Overwhelming.
So then you don't even feel like you have the room to authentically process these feelings, all of the feelings. So for those of you that are watching us, feel free to throw in the chat. What causes you to feel stressed during the holidays? What's causing your holidays to feel heavy? And also you can share with us what brings you a little joy. But, we really want to unpack this because there is a societal pressure that we are joyful during the holidays while we are trying to do and be all of the things. And like you said, there's been so many changes over the last 3 years that we've been processing through. And I don't think the weight and the magnitude of this time, unprecedented time with the pandemic, with the level of loss, not just when we talk about loss, we talk about grief. You and I talked about this. Grief is not always just what we think about in terms of the loss of a loved one or even the grief of a relationship ending. It is it could be based on sudden change, things that you feel are outside of your control. And we've had so many things in our world turn upside down over the last couple of years that have been had an ongoing effect, like not even being able to as easily see certain family members, or having family members that we've lost, or we've had that on top of the shift in the political climate, or the shift in the economic climate, or the mass shootings, or all of these things. And we're still trying to process through a lot of these things. And people have colds, and people have flu, and people have like all of these things. So we are dealing with a lot. So I just want to call that out because
this collective grief, right? This collective loss that we're feeling. Like we've talked about before, I'm affected by what happens in your world. You're affected by what happens in my world. And people we don't even know, 7 degrees of separation, 15 degrees of separation, they're affected by what we have going on because we're all connected. You know?
absolutely.
So
we are all
one
connected.
person may be having an okay time, but when you talk with someone else and they're having a really horrible time, it affects you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as I shared earlier, even when we think about how this carries over into our work, and our work carries over into our home, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Hi there. Hi, Robert. Good to see you. My stress comes from failure to successfully lock in a date over all these years. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for putting that in.
Coming online to shoot a shot.
Your shot, but I have not talked to you or anyway in years. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas. So this is hilarious. So LOL. So love it. So there are just so many things. So I have shared, like, even on our team, we've had a few people that have their whole families have gotten COVID, their whole household, and then it's a month later and they're still not feeling better, and now it's bronchitis. And so when you think about that impact, but then you look at how that carries over. And then, so if you, even in a huge company, if you have a few folks that are we're dealing with our own stuff, right? And then our team is dealing with their stuff, then it's just kind of like we're all just trying to hold it together, right? And we feel the weight of that. And then that weight comes home with us, or what's happening at home comes to work with us. So it's very real. And we just want to call that out. And so when we think about these things, we think about the exhaustion, the pressure, the changes. I also want to call out many of us may not realize, but even nutritional deficiencies,
Absolutely,
can affect our hormone levels, our mental health levels. And so there is a wonderful integrative health center in the Maryland, DC area called NAVA. And I am so excited that I have a follow-up with them where they actually are able to assess where you might be deficient in certain vitamins and nutrients and all of these things, and then you create a plan for those things, because this can actually affect your mental health, and so can a lack of sleep, and so can a lack of rest. So we need to be talking about all these things, right?
Those foundational building blocks, what we're putting in our bodies, what we're eating, the nutrients that we're getting in, right? Are we getting enough vitamin D? During this winter solstice, the winter time, the sun is not directly shining upon us. We're losing vitamin D. For us folks dealing with melanin, right? So we wouldn't be getting a lot of vitamin D. So that's an example of the necessity of us, especially during the winter time, to make sure we're getting all of the nutrients that we need.
Yes. And then I'm a person that's very affected by sun. So what I do, and we're going to talk about, when we talk about reclaiming your joy, there are ways that we can be reclaiming our joy throughout the holiday in little ways and every day. And so I need sunshine. So I work by windows.
Yes, that's a beautiful idea.
Yes, I'm an extrovert. I'm energized by people. So I will go to my favorite coffee shop for a few hours a day to take meetings and to work. And it just depends on if it's like a one-on-one with my team, or do a walk and talk. So these are the kind of things that we're talking about. But I also want to transition us a little bit. I want to take us to really that permission to not be okay.
Oh, yeah.
And us giving ourselves permission to say that, I'm not having a good day, or I am struggling a little bit. And a lot of this, it's hard to believe that the untimely passing of Twitch was just a week ago, a little over a week ago. And I think that particular death caught the world and the United States, I would say more specifically, by storm. Twitch, the celebrity personality, DJ and dancer on Ellen's show, because he was known for bringing the love, the light, the energy. And people from his wife to people that just knew him, they all described him the same way. And so when you see a person that's constantly exuding positive energy and joy and light and love in every space they enter, it becomes even more baffling in terms of like, wow, we would have never known. And then like, why?
Right.
How did this happen? And so, when we think about this, a lot of times those are the ones that don't feel necessarily they have the permission to be anything different because they did that for so many. And I want you to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. As you're describing it, it's something that I often share with my clients. We give out what we want,
Mm,
right? We show up in a way that we would really like other people to show up for us. So chances are, when you have that friend who has the gregarious personality and they're bringing the joy and bringing the fun, they really would like somebody to pour that into themselves. So
mm,
that's something to think about, right? We do what we are, and as we show up in life, that's what we would really like to have. That's what our soul longs for, that we can have in our own lives.
mm,
And what what dealt with is what's been coined high functioning depression.
mm,
Normal symptoms of depression would be low motivation, difficulty sleeping, difficulty engaging with other people, fatigue, right? Irritability. But from the outside, we're not sure, what his wife saw, what his family saw. But from the outside, one dealing with high functioning depression can still show up. They
mm,
show up and they do their job, they smile,
mm,
they engage, they're bubbly. And also Chesley Christ, that is what has been coined, a term that was used when she had her untimely passing, right?
wow.
So thinking about the ways in which someone shows up and maybe feeling on the inside, that pressure that we're talking about, that hopelessness. And what we can do is, when we are in their inner circle, pay attention to our friends. We're saying check on your strong friends, or check on your friends, but it's deeper than that. It's
Mhm,
paying attention to them and allowing them to feel sad,
mhm,
giving them space. How do you feel? Are you sad? It's okay to feel sad. Do
mhm.
you feel anxious? It's okay to feel anxious. Do you need a break? It's okay to take a break,
Yeah.
and normalize those feelings, and not, marginalize them because they have challenging feelings or more negatively charged feelings. We
Mm.
can hold space for both. We can be overwhelmed and joyful at the same time. We can
Yeah.
be deeply sad and optimistic to a degree at the same time, right? Giving space for a person and that permission to have the feelings, and us as friends, coaches, therapists, having a group of safe people around the person who can hold space for all of those feelings.
That's, and I'm so glad that you said that because I often say that life is full of peaks and valleys, which we know, right? But they can even be happening at the same time. They can
Absolutely.
be happening at the same time. You can
Often.
have, people have given birth to their baby, which is the joy of their life, and at the same within days or the same day or within a week, they've lost a parent. You can
Yeah.
have peaks and valleys at the same
Yeah.
time. And so it is okay. There's no way you're living through this life and not having a myriad of emotions. And so we have to give ourselves space for that. And when talking to people about this, I've heard so many people say, yeah, but when you say that you're not okay, people don't want to hear it.
Mm.
And so I think sometimes we don't have the tools, we don't have the language because similar to how you said we're trying to give out what we want, sometimes we don't even want or know how to process our own pain or exhaustion. So we just I have a beloved family member that says often, I just say I'm okay when people ask because I don't have a choice. I don't have a
Mm.
choice not to be okay with everything I have to manage and everything
What
on my plate.
immense pressure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, what would be language? Because I feel like doing a lot of executive coaching work, a lot of corporate work. One of the things I realize a lot of times people don't say the thing because they don't know how to say the thing.
Mhm.
And so, we shouldn't have to be that buttoned up in our personal relationships. But give us some language, Leslie, for how we say that we're not okay.
Mhm. I feel low. I feel
Hmm.
burnt out.
Hmm.
I feel at the end of my rope. I
Hmm.
feel overwhelmed. I feel
Hmm.
a lot of pressure. I feel chaotic mentally.
Yeah.
I feel out of alignment. I want to show up and do this, and I want to put a smile on my face, but on the inside, I'm not smiling.
Hmm.
I'm giving you something that's actually not happening on the inside of my experience. I'm
Hmm.
fragmented, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So identifying and journaling helps with this.
Yes.
Writing out how you're feeling as best possible, getting to the root of it, working with the therapist to do that, and then putting that word to that emotion. And it might not be a straight line. It might be the complexity of emotions that we're talking through, this layered emotions. I
Hmm.
feel joy, but I feel deep sadness. I
Hmm.
feel depressed. I
Mm,
feel anxious,
mm,
right? And that language of truth and authenticity.
I love
But
it.
there are barriers and blockages, right? Because we're scared. We hold this energy right here, that knot
Yeah,
in one's throat,
yeah,
that tightness in one's chest.
yeah,
If I say this, what will they say, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's why you want to surround yourself with safe people where
Mm-hmm,
you have permission to be vulnerable,
mm-hmm,
or work with a therapist to learn to be vulnerable and then
mm-hmm,
show up
mm-hmm. And
in
I
those
think even,
spaces.
yeah, and I think even sometimes prefacing it and saying, you know what, usually I would say I'm okay, but I'm learning that it's healthier for me to be more authentic with what I'm feeling because I know I'm not the only one feeling it. So
Absolutely.
today I'm feeling, even if you're not comfortable with all those things, today I'm feeling a lot of pressure.
Mhm.
Today I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Today, honestly, I'm feeling a little exhausted. I know I won't stay here, but
Mhm.
that's how I'm feeling today. And I want to give voice to that, giving
Mhm.
ourselves permission. I love all that we have in the chat. So I'm going to take a minute to read the chat. So, Clarence, work, family, social, financial commitments, hard to prioritize and make time for self. That's real. But we
Absolutely.
have to, and even if we're not able to do it every day, then be thinking about there are days that I just say, you know what? I'm prioritizing myself today.
Mhm.
Is there something I can move around and shift so I can get this walk in, this workout in? If you can, and most of the times you can, we're going to talk about that too. What's in our control, what's not in our control, what can we influence?
Right.
Robert, sometimes we measure ourselves by other people's standards and success, especially during the holidays, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
are gathering around a lot of people when people want to know what you've been up to, what you got, how's
Mhm.
the business, how's the relationship, how's the this, right? And so, you know what? I just want us to give ourselves a freedom pass to say it's okay for it not to all be okay because the biggest companies in the world are grappling and struggling. And I always anchor myself with that. Sometimes
Yep.
you see press conferences and something goes wrong, a blooper happens. So we got to give ourselves some grace, y'all, because there is no such thing as perfection.
Right.
No such thing.
Right.
Okay. Also, let's see here. How about the conversation protecting yourself from others, mental health issues causing stress um, in a mentally healthy person's life, detaching or seeking counseling, and knowing how to do that. So sometimes barriers of boundaries and barriers. And I want to get into,
Yeah.
we're going to shift over into how do we create joy, but sometimes
Mhm.
it's making interactions time limited.
Mhm.
Deciding, I want you all to decide how you're going to spend your holiday. Even if you're going to go to the dinner, you don't have to stay for 4 hours. If it's highly stressful, maybe you decide to stay for one.
Mhm.
Maybe you decide to not sit next to the people that trigger you the most and sit at the kids' table for a little bit. You know what I mean? Maybe you decide
Walk away.
to take grandma home or somebody home, or help clean up, help do some stuff. So you're moving around and you don't feel stuck in that. But I want you to be giving that some thought. I think we have one more. Trevor, mental health is one of the most important aspects of our entire lives. It is oftentimes the most difficult to talk about. Suicide and crisis lifeline available. Yes. If you are feeling really low, if you are feeling isolated, if you are having those thoughts, I want you to dial 988 because one of the things I have heard is that sometimes these thoughts swoop in so fast,
Very
you all.
fast.
And some people haven't always struggled with this for a long time. And so there can be so many imbalances happening all at once that the levels of overwhelm over the last 3 years can be like, whoosh, just like that, faster than we knew. And we didn't even see it coming to this degree.
Right.
So there's no shame. There is no shame. 988. So I want us to move on in the conversation so we have time to talk about how do we reclaim our joy with all this that's happening, right? And so I believe that we can have intentional daily practices that really help to create the environment for our daily lives to be as fulfilling as possible. We
Mhm.
can't control all things, right? So, one of the things I want you to do before I dive into that, because I think this is important, some of you already have, but just go ahead and write down. I'm going to give us about 30 seconds or a few seconds. Go ahead and write down 3 things that cause you stress during the holidays.
Mm.
3 things. Let's see, pressure, standard, dealing with other folks in the family. Just write down 3. You can add later. And it can be just a word. Then I want you to write next to it, do I have any control over this? A C. If you have any control in any way, you can limit the time, you can say no, you can, any control, put a C next to it. If you can influence this situation in any way, shape, or form, put an I next to it. And if you have absolutely no control, I would say an example of no control is the rain. We can't control that. So we can't control the rain. We can't control the stimulus, but we can control the response.
Mm-hmm.
So I can put on a raincoat. I can have my umbrella in my car. So I can have these things that are going to be protective boundaries. All right. So now let's move into talking about, and I want you to just be mindful of those, right? Because I also want you to think about, as we talk about reclaiming our joy, how you will shift the narrative for the things that you can influence and control. All right. So how can we reclaim our joy? So I want us to look at, when we're thinking about creating our utopia, I want us to think about mentally, how are we doing? Physically, how are we doing? Emotionally, how are we doing? Relationally, how are we doing? Write those down. Mental, emotional, relational, spiritual, emotional, and I'm going to add another one, professional. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, go ahead and rank yourself there. Okay? And this is going to be a great utopian exercise as you go into the new year, and we'll have more of these utopia talks for you to be thinking about actionable ways that you can elevate those numbers that might be lower. Okay, so some of the ways are simply realizing where you need to fill your cup a little bit more. I'm big on relationships, they fill my cup. So spending quality time with people that matter to me is so important. So I create space for that. As busy as I am, I create space every weekend. And I'm constantly reaching out to my friends. Like, when are we gonna get together? And I make it home for family time. So filling your cup with the people that fill your cup relationally. What can you do to show up better for them and for you? Right? I also want you to be thinking about emotionally. A lot of times we need better boundaries. Where do we need some better boundaries? Who elevates us, but also who brings us down? Who adds to us or who subtracts from us? Write down a couple of those names and think about how you can shift the balance to actually create more utopia this holiday. How can you call? How can you reach out? How can you spend time? Even if it's with a neighbor, or even if it's volunteering, even if your typical family structure is not the way it usually is. I think a lot of grief during the holidays comes from that due to loss, and just difference and shifts in those relationships not being what we see on TV with a Christmas family dinner. Now, how can we remix or recreate new holiday traditions? What can we do differently, whether it's a game night, whether it's a movie night, whether it's saying, you know what, I'm not even going to feed into it. Christmas is one day. So we can also journal the things that stress us and the things that bring us joy, and remember and reflect on all the things that have brought us joy over the holiday season. And maybe we can choose a few of those things that we can incorporate maybe in a new, fresh way to bring joy into our holidays. We can go for a walk, take a nap. We can do something creative, like make it a day that we paint. Maybe go get us some canvas. And we can also put together a self-care kit, a day of activities to pour into ourselves. So, Leslie, what else do you think we can do to really create our utopia?
These ideas that you've brought forth, Naya, they are absolutely wonderful, right? I would just, I don't think I would add anything else specifically. I would say more of it and as much of it as possible, and being as intentional with it as possible. You want to have intentionality and you want to have balance, right? So just thinking through what it means to be intentional about the self-care plan, about the proactive plan, about dealing with the changes and challenges and uncertainty, and also too having balance, allowing the quote negative and the quote positive to exist all in one place without judgment and without saying, oh, it should be this way, or I shouldn't have done that, or they shouldn't have done that. So exactly what you're saying, with intentionality and balance.
Yes, yes. So I want you all to take a few seconds and I want you to write down a few things that you will do, maybe as you plan out your holiday, whether it's Christmas Day, whether it's Christmas Eve, but a few things that are for you, for your self care routine. How will you start your day? I love to start my day with journaling. I have a playlist. I wake up before I check any devices. I listen to an inspirational playlist that same song every day for years. I write in my journal. I may have a cup of tea, I may not. And that's how I start my day. And I want you to think about how will you layer onto that? Will you go for a walk? Will you make yourself or go for a really great breakfast? If not Christmas Day, because places are closed the day before, the day after. Will you go ahead and make sure that you have like a wonderful movie time that you, whether it's with yourself or with yourself and family? Maybe you'll take an online yoga class with Utopia or meditation.
Mhm.
Maybe you'll write down the name of 3 friends that you haven't talked to in a while, that even if you don't get them, you're going to send them some love via text. So I want you to think about how you can control and create your utopia this holiday. Feel free to throw a few of those in the chat. Would love to see if you've come up with anything as a result of this exercise. Schedule yourself a massage, you know, and then think about how you can continue to take this self-care into the new year. Catching up on shows, taking an afternoon nap. I love it, and it's free. It's simple, it brings you joy, it is free. I love that. So anybody want to ask us anything? We're going to take 1 minute or ask us anything. Any questions for us? Feel free to put it in the chat.
While we wait for Ask Us Anything, I just want to throw this in. Deep breathing is going to be your friend during times of pressure, angst, anxiety, just something really great to learn, right? So I know Naya always brings in bomb deep breathing. I could fall asleep on your mindfulness meditative exercises. Right. But deep breathing is going to be your friend. So there are all types of breathing you can do. Basic is in through your nose, out through your mouth. You want to incorporate deep breathing every chance you get. And no one has to know that you're doing it. You could be in the grocery store, deep breathing away. So learn how to deep breathe. Your body will thank you. It engages your parasympathetic nervous system, calms down the sympathetic nervous system, gets you out of fight or flight or freeze.
Beautiful. And I'm going to take us into a breathing exercise, mindful breath work. And I want you to get yourself anchored. And for me, I'm going to be breathing in we're going to breathe in a couple of words: joy, peace, and calm. Okay. We're going to exhale and release anything that's not serving us well. And as Leslie said, you can do this while you're in a meeting. You can do this while you're driving. You can do this 1 minute as you sit in the car before you walk into the family engagement or whatever that is. You can do this when you go step away in the restroom. These are things that you can do anytime, anywhere. So please join me in just placing one hand on your heart, one hand on your abdomen. I invite you to close your eyes, and I invite you to take in a nice cleansing breath. Breathing in through the nose, filling up the abdomen, filling up the lungs, and slowly exhaling. You can breathe out like you're blowing out a candle. There is life in the breath. Breathing in joy, peace, and calm. Exhaling and releasing any tension, any stress, any anxiety. Do a nice slow neck rotation, loosening up any tightness in the neck and the shoulders. With your next breath, I want you to breathe in self-love, self-care, and compassion. And exhaling, releasing pressure, critique. With your next breath in, I invite you to breathe in gratitude, beauty, and abundance. What are you grateful for? Let's focus on the what is. We're here, we made it. Those challenges, those valley seasons have made us more resilient and stronger. We're still standing. With each day, things get better, they get brighter as long as we continue to stay in the fight. Taking in another cleansing breath, breathing in joy, breathing in peace, breathing in applause for you, for showing up to this, for showing up each and every day, and for continuing to grow and evolve. I'm going to close this out with this quote. Christmas is most truly Christmas when we celebrate it by giving the light of the love to those that need it most. So give light and love to yourself. Give light and love to those that need it most. Thank you for joining us. Make it a utopian day. We have put our link tree in the chat. Continue to follow us, utopiasgw.com. Sign up for a free trial. We also have gifts that don't require any mail, any stress, any stores. You can give a gift of wellness through our memberships. You can also give a gift card, and you can even go to Amazon.com and purchase our ebook or our hard copy, 30 Days to Utopia Living. So thank you all. Make it and create a utopian holiday. Many blessings. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Naya.